And taking a look at how the local markets closed today, we got a mostly positive handover from Asian markets. That, however, not really filtering through to local markets. A mixed finish there, with the all share down at just over 0.7%. The industrial 25 leading those losses, down close to 3%. We've seen losses in Naspers and Prosus on that front. In the green, though, are the financial 15s, up over 0.5%, and the resources 10 complex gaining 1.67%. And for further analysis of the day's markets action, Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managemnt joins us now. Makwe, thanks so much for your time today. So the first full week of trade for 2025, trade does seem kind of choppy, Makwe. It seems like, traders are waiting for fresh catalysts to move those markets. Just in, we got those job openings numbers. It seems like, that U.S. labor market really resilient, really strong, right?
Definitely, so far it seems that it's strong. And remember, on Friday, we get the mother of all reports, that is the U.S. job numbers, and people expect a very good number. And we know that the Fed have got a dual mandate, more on looking into the inflation and the jobs numbers. And so far, inflation has not been doing that bad.
Yeah.
But we are worried about it this year, given that there's the possibility of tariffs. In fact, it's a given that there'll be tariffs. So the long and short is that Trump's policies, everybody thinks that that might be inflationary. So it might be a struggle, and hence people are expecting that the rate cuts, they say in the U.S., are not going to be as aggressive as we initially thought. But as it stands now, sentiment is, let's wait with Trump. We know he has done it before. But here, when it comes to those policies, it's very important how quickly those policies will be implemented. And will you really feel them? And so far, we've seen some signs, I know we'll talk about it maybe at some point, that what they've done with the likes of Tencent, but Trump never disappointed before. And we know that when he said he will implement something, definitely he will. But we continue to have this headwind when it comes to the world trade, because tariffs, it might end up being a question of tit for tat. But the job numbers so far have not been disappointing. So I'm saying that it might be one of those things that it's a done deal, but now they've got a new fight, which might possibly be high inflation, as we've seen with Europe as well, the inflation that it ticked higher now.
So trade relations, one of the biggest themes for 2025, as President-elect Donald Trump is about, to officially take office from the 20th of January. Despite him not even being in office yet, there have been a number of conflicting headlines around tariffs. I mean, this is Trump's favorite word, of course. It seems like the Washington Post had reported that, the Trump administration will look to find a narrower approach when it comes to implementing tariffs. But Trump then refuted those reports, calling them fake news, somewhat then reverting to, the blanket tariffs he had announced during his presidential campaign. Makwe, how much of this is priced in, or surely this is priced in, considering that we already knew Trump would come through with these big bazooka tariffs?
Yes, we saw a knee-jerk reaction from that Washington Post, being stocks rallying. We've seen as well that we've seen currencies as well rising sharply. But when he said that's fake news, you just see some retreat, but it was not back to where we were before the report. So many guys have managed to find a middle ground, saying that, yes, we know he was going to implement, but probably he's not going to be as aggressive. The Washington Post might not be having it 100% correct, but there might be some form of middle ground here going forward. But as we said earlier, Trump tit for tat story, we've seen looking to what is happening with oil. China already they sanctioned some of the oil vessels coming from the U.S. So it just shows you that there is this whole thing going when it comes to trade going forward.
Let's bring it back at home. Locally, we saw Naspers and Prosus really catching smoke today. That those share prices are down 9% and 8% respectively. This comes after the U.S. added Tencent onto a list of firms allegedly working for China's military, pretty much blacklisting the company. But I guess not much of an impact on operations, but rather more of a reputational blow, Makwe. So how much of a concern then is this to market watchers and traders?
It is a serious concern because we've seen the reaction when it comes to Tencent share price itself, both in the US and also in Hong Kong this morning, and also for the fact that in Aspas process, we know that Tencent is one of their major investments, hence we've seen that kind of a reaction. So it's more of sentiments as well going forward that Tencent are saying that this is a mistake for you to include us, but the guys continue to include them. So it's more of a sentiment thing more than anything. We know that investors are high when it comes to sentiments.
More bad news coming from the local front. A counter that's been making headlines is AMSA, following the announcement of the closure of its Longs steel unit and a downbeat forecast for its annual numbers. Initially, that stock price plunged over 30% yesterday, closing at around 27%. Today, we did start seeing, some relief coming through. The last time I checked, I think it was up over 5%. What have you just made of the news? I mean, quite sad news. Over 3,500 jobs hang in the balance. Of course, coming where the unemployment rate in the country sits at around 32.1%.
And back home here, we know that one person working might be responsible for 4 to 5 people.
Yeah.
So that's a very serious concern. But this whole issue with ArcelorMittal, it has been in the making. They've tried to talk to other stakeholders to try to solve things, and they gave it a bit of a chance to see whether they can come to a solution. We know one of their issues has been the issues with Transnet, issues with energy, that is ESCOM, stuff like that. But so far, the guys are saying, whatever intervention the government came with, it was very insufficient. So the guys don't have much of a choice. If 35% of the business is not making money and you are trying to feed it from other businesses, you might as well come to a point where you make that unfortunate decision that, listen, you just have to let go.
Sad news indeed. Makwe, before I let you go, what is your stock pick?
I think for now, I'll settle for the S&P 500, the exchange-traded fund thereof, and for the fact that we know that some of Trump's policies, they stand a good chance to help the U.S. economy, the likes of cutting taxes, the likes of making sure that bureaucracy or red tape gets to be reduced. So probably that might help the U.S. economy, and most of the stocks in the S&P tend to benefit from that.
All right, Makwe, thanks so much for your time and taking us through the day's markets action. That was Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers.